Howdy folks, welcome to Tale Trail. Today in this channel, we'll be sharing some real and raw stories about relationships and more. Stick around to hear how they made it through. Or if they did. Without further ado, let's get into some tales together. This post is entitled Ex Ghosted My Friend, Then Demands a Room in Our House. This isn't my ex, but my best friend's ex. She and I have been friends for years and live together now. And now we live with my parents who adore her like their own daughter. I got her permission to post this. My friend, 30 female, came to the US from Latin America at 19 as a student. She also started dating her ex, 29 male, after many years of hanging with each other both during vacations and online. I knew them both since high school and they seemed good together. She tried to convince him to move together a few years before their breakup. He was living with his parents who wanted him to leave. At this point, she had already finished college and had a job in the US that granted her a visa. He had quit college and worked part-time. From what I can gather, he didn't want to leave his parents' place because free food and no rent. So instead, she asked me if I wanted to move with her so we could afford a bigger place. I said yes, and we moved together, adopted a cat and a dog, and pretty much became Grace and Frankie. Around the start of the pandemic, things got bad for them. This is what I was told and what I saw. They never talked or hang out or anything. I was in a breakup at that time myself, so I wasn't really on top since I had my own issues, but my friend cried so much. She didn't even get a happy birthday. After a year of no contact, she assumed the relationship was over. She changed all her social media to single, which he could see, took him off her emergency contacts at work and at her doctor's, and just moved on with her life. This year my stepdad's health has gone downhill and my mom needs help caring for him. She works full-time as a therapist. I work from home and my job is very flexible. So I put in the idea of all of us living together and I'll care for my dad. Eventually, I'll care for my mom too. My mom loved the idea and asked my bestie if she wanted to move with us too so we could all be together, and also because at this point, I can't see myself not being in the same house as her. We've come to terms in being single ladies. Heck, we've joked that one of us should adopt, and we've become a parent/aunt dynamic. And now the joke is more serious since I'm considering it and she's incredibly supportive. No, we're not dating. She's straight, I'm bi. We're just incredibly close after all the BS we've lived through together. We found a perfect house. For bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. Enough space, a yard, everything we need. And we got it after a bunch of difficulties and arrangements. Since I don't have immediate plans for adopting yet, I have a ton of paperwork and years of planning ahead. We made the extra room into our office/gaming hub. We both work at the same place, totally not on purpose. They were hiring and we both needed visas. And as proud first-time homeowners, we posted pictures. Her ex, who by this point has been missing in action for 3 years, messaged her saying he was so excited to move into the new house. She told him this was her house with me and my parents. He said since they were a couple she should kick me and my parents out, so he could move in. I want to point out that my parents bought the house. We, friend and I, will pay them our parts over the years. And if she decides to move out, I'll finish paying and I'll buy her part out. This is all in paper and signed. So she obviously told him he was not moving with us and that he ghosted her so there was no relationship. He went on a tirade that he never broke up with her, that she was abandoning him, that she never cared about him, etc. I got pissed off, took the phone from her, and told him he could live in a bear cave for all I care, but to leave my friend and our house alone. He went ballistic and began calling us some names, referring to the LGBTQ+ community, that would probably get this post flagged. So I'll leave it to your imagination. My friend started crying and I was absolutely done with him. I never thought he was abusive, but my friend confessed to me that this was not new. He always had issues with the two of us living together and accused her often of cheating on him with me. We ended the call, and I told her she needed to block him for her own sanity's sake. She deserves so much better than this man-child. She got me to leave my abusive ex when I was in high school. She took me to the hospital when he beat me up and called my parents. My friend is family, and I'll be dead before I let some bastard with commitment issues make her suffer. Since then, he's gone on a major campaign in our friend group to say my friend abandoned him and left him homeless since apparently he canceled his lease after he saw we bought a house. He also claims we're lesbian Satanists that probably abuse our pets and are mooching off my parents. Most of my friends know the story and know. My friend and I moved together at first out of necessity, then we just don't see ourselves not living together. So yeah, my friend's ex is a nutcase, and if he ever gets close to her again, I will personally give him a free vasectomy. Wow, that is crazy. For the ex to be this entitled, and not to mention, delusional for wanting to use OP's best friend in such a bizarre manner, is just plain ridiculous. Here's the update. Well, seems I'm stuck in a saga now. Once again, I have full permission from my friend to share this. As my first post said, my friend's ex ghosted her, and then decided to try to move in with her, and by extension, me, after years of no contact. My friend told him where he can go. For a bit, it was actually pretty calm. She did cut contact and block him as many suggested, and between the two of us, my bestie and I, did some culling in our friend group of people we knew were passing information to her ex. We've settled in the new house together, and she actually gets along better with my parents sometimes than I do. Yes, she's the golden child now. Sadly, eventually we had to adult and get much-needed food. We went to Walmart in town together, and by some bad luck we crossed paths with her ex. I wish all of it was just awkward glances in each on their way. But no, at first he tried to talk to her. My friend said she didn't want to speak to him and didn't want him near her. I mostly reminded him I wanted to rip his spine and beat him to death with it. Sadly, that didn't deter him from following us around like the most obnoxious toilet paper stuck to our shoes. We did our shopping and headed to the car, with him still after us. I told my friend for her to get into the car and start the gear, and lock it while I loaded the groceries. Her ex then decided to appeal to me to talk to my friend about taking him back. I don't know what power held me back from committing a felony, but pretty sure I've earned a PhD in self-control. I told him, in no uncertain terms, where he could put his reconciliation and that if he kept following us, I will make sure his legs were out of the equation. I got in the car and my friend began to driving back when we noticed a car following us. And we knew it was following because the direction we were going was not usual. To rule out a possible neighbor, we actually did a full U-turn, almost back to the store, stopped to get some fast food, ate in the parking lot, then headed again back home. And the same car was after us. Now, as much as I talk of violence, I have to admit I was terrified. So was my friend. Neither of us has a gun permit. Best we carry is a can of pepper spray. And we know her ex does have guns. So yeah, we were not comfortable at that point. Instead, we headed past our neighborhood. And following the usual advice from TV, drove to a police station. Once in it, we did write a statement, and I got scolded about the confrontation in Walmart's parking lot. The reason we know it's her ex was because when we got home, she got a call from him and a new phone number saying, "I know where you live now." We immediately called the police. So there's where we stand. Cops just left a few minutes ago, and my brother is going to be staying over for a few weeks until we get the restraining order and some sturdier locks. Also, I want to clarify a few things. A lot of people asked why originally my friend took a whole year of being ghosted to accept the relationship was over. While I get it, trust me, please understand that when my friend came to the US, she had no one. She's cut contact with her toxic family. She literally only had her ex. I moved into the US a year later, and also came alone at first. But my parents were able to become citizens and I had them. When her relationship died out, she lost not just her boyfriend, but his family who pretty much were as close to her own family as she could get. It's not easy, and I personally can't imagine how lonely she felt. I could spend Christmas with my parents. She had no one for that first year. So please, don't judge her on it, cause she doesn't deserve it. It's not easy to be an immigrant when you have no place to return to. I wanted to do an update, but I haven't had the time. Thank you all for your well wishes and advice. We're certainly taking measures for security. We're working with the police, who have been absolutely great the whole process and are helping Bestie to get that restraining order. For now, we have my brother using our couch. He's ex-military and has a gun permit, so we feel comfortable with him home. We still have no idea what's going on with my friend's ex, and to be sincere, aside from focusing on our safety, I don't have time to play Scooby-Doo. I did send a message to his sister warning her that we will press charges if he keeps creeping on us. We also did find an air ag hidden under in the car's bumper. It was immediately removed and turned into the police. Other than that, we're doing fairly good, enjoying the space and the yard. And to our new friend Chant, we absolutely love to have you as family. Now, before we move on to more updates related to the ex, let's listen to another post made by the same user. I'm divided in this since half my friends think I am the a-hole, that is, the other half don't. My 29 female, best friend, 30 female, and I recently moved into a new house with my parents, 78 male and 68 female. After a little time, we finally invited some friends over to have a nice evening of gaming and gossiping. We are actually the first in our group of friends to be property owners. Our friends loved the place and were really happy about us finally having something stable after years of living paycheck to paycheck. A few joked about how they should move in with us, or that the office room we made would be a good rental room. Roomie and I laughed it up and said we were done taking roommates. Family only. The issue came this morning when we found out one of our friends, Kate, 24 female, won't be able to keep renting her current apartment after her current roommate left for another state. I felt really bad for her and offered to introduce her to our realtor who also has rental apartments. Kate seemed surprised and said to me, "I thought you would help more. Like, let me stay in your house. You have space. I can't afford rent." I told Kate that while I want to help her, the house is for my parents, Bestie, and I. If she needed help with a month of rent in a new place or a security deposit, we can help. She won't be moving in, especially if she meant it for free. We have 8 mouths to feed. For humans, 3 dogs and 1 cat. Kate started crying and told me I didn't understand how hard it is to be a single woman away from her family. I just answered that I knew it far better than her since I came to a whole different country alone. She wasn't entitled to my home, and that if she was going to be like this, I would not be helping her in any way. I called my bestie and told her what happened. She told me she knew since Kate was blasting me in the friend group chat we have. She posted that I had refused to give her any aid and made it clear I didn't care for her. I quickly posted that I had offered for her to meet my realtor or help her with a first month rent or security deposit, but instead she had made a hissy fit in the middle of the university since I would not let her stay in my home for free. A good chunk of my friends immediately told Kate she was insane if she thought that was fair. Kate tried to defend herself, but eventually she just altogether left the group. A few friends in private messages told me I should take her in, and I would be a bad friend if I didn't. I told them the same I told her. We have 8 mouths to feed and we can't take a 9th for free. Now our friends are divided, with some agreeing with Kate, while others absolutely agreeing with me. My parents, the legal owners of the house, already settled the matter with us by saying no. They have nothing against Kate, but she's been rude in the past to my mom since she got her citizenship through my dad. I won't repeat what she said. I just feel bad because she does need help and I want to help her in some way. Just not in the way she wants. Am I the asshole? Now for the top comments. Not the asshole. You don't owe your friend a free place to live. If she had asked to stay and pay room and board, that might be a different conversation, one you still have the right to decline. But to assume she can just live with you? No. Add to that she's apparently been very rude to your mother? Absolutely not. Not the asshole. I'm not sure why you would want this entitled bigot to be your friend, let alone invite her to live with you as a non-paying roommate. Surely there are other, more deserving people you could spend your time and money on, if that's what you want to do. Not the asshole. And she proved if you had it would have been hell. You can't help people with her mentality. You offer to help big time, and it's not enough, and then talkish about you, which is crazy. You even offered help with rent, etc., and still no gratitude, only attitude. In my opinion, she is someone to stay far away from. Shameless, desperate, vindictive, and unappreciative. If anyone in your group talks about it, ask them how many of them offered her money to help get set up elsewhere. I bet 0. Now for another update. This is an ongoing mess with my female 29, best friends, female 30, ex, male 29, and now her ex-mother-in-law. I have her permission to post this. Now, my bestie never married her ex, but for simplicity's sake, I'll refer to her ex's parents as ex-mother-in-law and ex-father-in-law. Bestie and I live together with my parents in a newly bought house. She's pretty much a daughter to my parents, and we are platonic life partners by this point. Her ex ghosted her for 3 years and has been hounding her ever since he found out we bought a house, trying to get her to take him back and live in our house. We've tried reaching to the police, but since nothing serious has happened, we've reached a wall and can only wait. Her ex-in-laws no longer live in the U.S., but they did come for Thanksgiving. Though my bestie is no longer dating their son, she offered to pick them up at the airport and take them to their hotel. The reason I was told was they would do that for her when she was in college. I didn't like it since her ex is a problem, but she wanted to use the chance to ask her ex's parents to intervene and maybe get him off her back. I still didn't like it, but I figured they probably were okay based on how she described them. And I was completely wrong. My bestie arrived in tears and with a scratched cheek. Immediately, I asked her what happened, and now I'm seeing red. The next part comes from how my bestie described things to me. Bestie told me picking them up went well, and they had talked about the old days. They asked my bestie if they could stop in a nearby restaurant they always liked, and bestie, being her usual self, decided to treat them to lunch. All hell broke loose at the restaurant, though. Apparently, her ex-mother-in-law demanded to know why bestie did not take her abusive stalker ex back. According to ex-mother-in-law, my bestie is responsible for her baby boy since she was his first girlfriend, and they were married in the eyes of God. To start, they never legally married. And bestie is an atheist. So, yeah. Bestie tried to defuse the situation, explaining she's moved on with her life after 3 years not knowing where he was. She did try to ask her ex-mother-in-law to convince her son to leave her alone and that bestie just doesn't want him in her life anymore. Ex-father-in-law seemed to agree with her and apologized for all the heartache and pain she went through. Ex-mother-in-law, however, took over the conversation and began screaming that thanks to my bestie, her son had no life. That apparently my bestie was responsible for her firstborn not having a wife or children. The least she could do is take responsibility and become the submissive wife he deserved. Ex-father-in-law tried to pull his wife away, more than likely because they were causing a very public scene. Bestie simply said she would not ever consider marriage to her ex. She then said it might be best to take the food to go and for them to go to their hotel. She paid all the food, despite ex-father-in-law offering to cover his and his wife's meal, and drove them to the hotel. At the hotel is where things went from 1 to 100. Ex-mother-in-law had spent the whole drive escalating demands. From taking him back, to marrying him, to having a child, and giving her son the house as the man in the relationship. Ex-father-in-law apparently kept telling her to stop, but there was no way she could be quiet. Finally, my bestie had enough, stopped the car, and told ex-mother-in-law she will never take a failure of a man like her baby boy as a husband, let alone give birth to his spawn. That she was glad no other woman had stayed long-term with him since he really won't be a good addition to the gene pool. I gotta admit, I'm proud of her for that last one. Ex-mother-in-law went crazy and jumped on my friend. Her husband luckily grabbed her, but she still managed to get my friend on the cheek. She began screaming she was the reason her family had split, called her a whore with a different word, and said she wished our house burnt with all of us inside. Ex-father-in-law just told my friend to drop their bags on the sidewalk and drive away while he held back his demon of a wife. And bestie did exactly that. The next thing she did was drive back to us. She was not so much hurt by the insults or even the attack, but more the notion that a woman she once saw as a second mother would treat her like this. I told her to just relax a bit, so she's watching some movies with the dogs while I write this and do some work. Tomorrow we're both calling out and just having a girls' day with my mom. I did get in touch with the ex's sister and let her know what happened. She already knew from her dad and asked me if bestie was pressing charges. She should, but she's not. I tried to convince her, but it's a sore topic for her, so for her emotional well-being, I'm not going to push it. The sister said she appreciates we're not pressing charges and that she will make sure her family doesn't bother us in any way. Apparently, she already had her brother moved outside the city. Not sure how or where, but I'm glad he's gone. So, hopefully, we're done. We're going to avoid going out too often until we know the ex-monster-in-law is gone from the city. It's not a small city by any means, but I wouldn't put it past these crazies to try to stalk my bestie. We also have a small update by Opie after all this. After Thanksgiving dinner, my mom sat with my bestie to have a serious talk. She told her she didn't want to diagnose her, but she was showing clear signs that she needed help, and therapy could be an option. They had a discussion about it, and my friend agreed to seek professional help. Since she lives with my mom, she's not an option, but mom is going to help her find someone. We just came from filing a police report. My friend won't press charges, but we made a paper trail to ensure that it's at least on the record. She apologized for not doing it immediately and for going to meet her ex-in-laws. I told her I understand she's going through a lot of things. We'll see how things go, but she's like a sister to me, and I refuse to let her go through it alone. As for people saying I have feelings for her, please stop. Like, seriously stop. She's my family, and I don't see her in any romantic or sexual way. It's annoying that people assume just because I'm bi and have a strong friendship, it means I have romantic feelings. And to the person who made a comment about her ex-in-laws being entitled or Muslim, that is inappropriate and extremely racist. It's the same mentality that my friend and I have to constantly deal with, because we're Hispanics. I seriously dislike people like this. I'm truly sorry, Opie. That sounds like you and your bestie are going through such a challenging and emotionally taxing situation. Your strength and support for each other are commendable. Remember, you're not alone, and I hope brighter days are ahead for both of you. Let's hear from some fellow Redditors who had something to say about this. Pressing charges will expedite a restraining order. Your bestie seriously needs to rethink her decision. The ex-mother-in-law is deranged and dangerous. Another user says, another very good reason to press charges is to establish documentation of the ex-mother-in-law's violent behavior. If, hopefully not, a fire does happen, documentation will point the authorities in the right direction as to who possibly started it. Another user says, well, now you can definitely get a restraining order on the whole family. And another, I would suggest cameras just in case. Her father-in-law, too. He can't just drop her bags somewhere, but he wishes he could. Well, that's it, folks. Thank you for tuning into this roller coaster of a story. If you found it engaging or have thoughts to share, drop a comment below. Your feedback means the world to us. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more content, and hit that notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, take care.